Hey tyers, Darren here, back with another fly tying tutorial. Today we're going to be tying a carp pattern. This one's called the Brasshawk, and it's designed by a Texan fly fishing guide named Danny Scarborough. This is a good fly for fish that are actively eating in shallow waters like a foot or foot and a half, or even deeper swimming fish where you can sight cast to them in 3 or 4 feet of water. This is tied to represent a damselfly nymph that's emerging, and I've added a little bit of extra weight in behind the eyes here just to help it sink a little faster. You can use a egg hook for this pattern. I'm using a Talon TA-8346, but you can use something like an Orvis 76 AR or a Daiichi 2571 or a TMCO 105 should work well. Alright, let's have a look at the materials and get started. Alright, let's get a fresh hook in the vise. I'm using a Talon 8346. This one is about a size 4 hook. I'm going to use a black 6/0 thread to tie up this fly. We'll just start by putting a base layer of thread onto the fly, onto the hook. I'm going to wrap this down the bend of the hook a little bit just to make a nice thread base for the tail of the fly so it has something to latch onto. We're going to be using a little bit of gray squirrel hair for this. If you don't have gray squirrel, you can use calf tail or any kind of fine hair. That's going to give you a lot of movement in the water. I'm just going to take a small clump. Yeah, we're just going to trim that off. I'm going to pull out any really short hairs out of that. I'm just going to measure it about the hook length, and then from that measurement I'm going to put that at the bend of the hook. And then we'll tie everything down. I'm going to try and get close wraps on the way back just to make sure everything's covered evenly. I'm just going to bring that to about here. I'm going to leave a bit of a step down there where I can place the eyes. So we're going to use a gunmetal black bead chain on this one. If you don't have the gunmetal black, silver or gold works fine. And we're going to just wrap these in with figure 8 wraps, X wraps. So every few wraps, we're just going to give it a bit of tension just to kind of lock it in place. And you want to have a look at the front just to make sure that those eyes are level. If you want to secure it with a little bit of super glue, now's a good time. These look good. So now we're going to take in a length of wire. I'm using a uni soft wire for this one. You can also use the UTC wire. The coated wire is actually pretty nice for this pattern. So I've just cut off about a 6-inch, 8-inch length of this wire, and I'm just going to tie that in at the side. I'm going to take that all the way down to the bend to where my tail's tied in. I'm going to take that back up. I think I'll want my wire body to end around here. So I've tried doing this a number of ways, and I think the best way is just to wrap it manually, because you want to make sure that you put each wrap right up against the last one. Tried using a bobbin to do this, but it's a little bit complicated. You might have a little bit more luck once you get around the bend of the hook. It's a little bit easier to go in straight, and your rotary vise might come in handy at this point, but we'll just take a couple extra minutes and wrap this manually. Really like the appearance of this fly with the wrapped wire body. Makes it kind of striking. Alright, so we got up to where our body wants to end. I usually just add a couple extra wraps just so that we're not going to come out easily. Try and helicopter that off. Alright, so now we're going to flip this hook over and take about 5-6 strands Peacock herl. I'm going to tie 3 strands in on each side. Cut the bases off. We want to tie them on the bottom of the hook, as close as in the middle as we can. Alright, next I'm going to take just actually first we're going to add a little bit of weight to this fly. We just got a little bit of lead here. Just going to take a few little strips. So I'm just going to tie that in, and then I'm going to cut that off on an angle. I'm going to put one on each side, right behind the eye. Just adds a little bit more bulk to the body. Alright. Next we're going to add in a touch of Peacock dubbing. I'm using the Superfly Bronze Olive, which is my favorite color, but I hear it's being discontinued, so if you do find some out there, scoop it up. We're just going to put a little bit there for now. And next we're going to take one of the strands from this bass leg skirt. So this is a silicone leg skirt. Just going to take one of those legs. I'm going to double it over, cut it in half. And then with the legs both even, I'm just going to measure them about halfway. Add a couple wraps. And that way I can position them on the side. There we go. Looks good. Now we're going to take a few more wraps with dubbing. Just going to add a little bit at a time and wrap that up. See how it looks. Just want to make sure these legs stay separated. I'm going to wrap in front of these legs so that they kind of stick out to the side. Put a wrap through the eyes. finish off at the head. And we're just going to flip this over again. Make sure you got the legs out of the way. I'm going to take your peacock from both sides. Pull them all forward. Just going to catch them there. Make sure your legs are out of the way. We'll add a few wraps. Pull your peacock back. Add a couple more wraps just to secure it. And then you can trim. And we'll add a whip finish. If you want to trim the legs, it's best just to gather them all together. I like mine just a little bit longer than the hook. There you go. That's the Brasshawk. Thanks for stopping by my fly tying channel and watching my tutorials. If you're new here and like this sort of thing, why not hit that subscribe button? I'd love to hear from you, so if you have anything to say, leave it in the comments below. Until next time, this is Darren saying, keep a hook in your vise. Cheers.